Welcome everyone, let's get started.
Lesson 7. Pronouns. Pronouns. They are words that take the place of nouns. We often use them to avoid repeating the nouns that they refer to. Example, the car that I hired broke down. Pronouns have different forms for the different ways we use them. Example, personal pronouns, reflexive pronouns. 1. Personal pronouns. Look at the table. Example. I like your t-shirt. We saw them in town yesterday, but they didn't see us. Note. Here are a few important notes. Dummy subjects. They're to talk about where or when something is. Example, there's an interesting book on the shelf. A number or amount. Example, there is plenty of cake left. Something existing or happening. Example, there's a small problem. It to talk about times and dates. Example, it's nearly 3 o'clock. The weather. Example, it's raining. We use it with the verb be ending form or to infinitive to express opinions. Example, it's great living here. It's nice to meet you. Two. Possessive pronouns. Look at the table. Note. We can use possessive pronouns and nouns after of. Example, Twan is one of my friends. Twan is a friend of mine. We can use a possessive pronoun instead of a full noun phrase to avoid repeating words. Example, is that John's car? No, it's mine. 3. Reflexive pronouns. Look at the table. Note. We use a reflexive pronoun as a direct object when the object is the same as the subject of the verb. Example, I fell over and hurt myself. We do not use a reflexive pronoun after verbs which describe things people usually do for themselves. Example, he washed in cold water. We only use reflexive pronouns with these verbs for emphasis. Example, he dressed himself in spite of his injuries. We use reflexive pronouns as an indirect object when the indirect object is the same as the subject of the verb. Example, would you like to pour yourself a drink? We use reflexive pronouns as the object of a preposition when the object is the same as the subject of the verb. Example, they had to cook for themselves. But we use object pronouns, not reflexives, after prepositions of place and after with when it means accompanied by. Example, he had a suitcase beside him. Not himself. She had a few friends with her. Not herself. We use reflexives with the preposition by to show that someone did something without any help. Example, the children got dressed by themselves. To show that someone was alone. Example, he lived by himself in an enormous house. We use reflexive pronouns to emphasize the person or thing we are referring to, and we often put the reflexive pronoun at the end of the clause. Example, she mended the car herself. Or she herself mended the car. Especially if we are talking about someone very famous. Example, Taylor Swift herself sang the final song.